everybody. I don't know where that booming came in.
Who's got YouTube playing in the background?
Do I? I don't know what
Somebody does.
Anyway,
Somebody has YouTube open.
well, anyways, good evening, buddy. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. I don't know who's got YouTube playing in the background. It isn't me. Anyways, at least the good part about tonight is I don't have to compete against the World Cup because on Nate Stitch's baseball talk I had to deal with that last night. But Katie had a great first show with her travel show, so that helped cushion the blow a little bit. Anyways, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the crew that's going to deliver it to you is Mel Farr Jr. Glad to have you back, Mel.
Hey, it's great to be back.
Great to have you. And of course, next week we won't have a show. Candy and I will be in the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. So everybody will have Tuesday night off. But we'll be back better than ever the following Tuesday. Ed McAndrew, my partner in crime, he follows me wherever I go. Lately, I've been having him on 3 shows, but he's a first-class trooper. Thanks, Eddie.
Glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. And Jeremy Ballrick, well, what can I say, JB?
Not much, hey, it's good to see everybody. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to be here. Let's talk a little football and then whatever else you're going to throw at us.
Absolutely. And we have our statistician in the background, Lasso. Whatever we miss, she'll make sure we don't miss it.
Exactly.
All right, so the good, the bad, and the ugly, and a whole lot more. Well, we're going to lead off right now with teams that are in Division II. What you actually wonder if they're going to actually move up to FCS. So let me just go over some of these as we get to some of the other topics as well. First of all, Colorado, south of Mines, is one that may be ripe for the picking. I've never heard of them before, but guess what? They may be poised to make the step up. You have Ferris State. Everybody in Michigan knows about Ferris State. Are they ready to make that climb? West Florida. Now, here's a team in my backyard, well, kind of, in Pensacola, has spent a lot of money out in, like I say, Pensacola. They're called the Argonauts, and they built a new stadium. Are they ready to go Division II? Yeah, I think they might be ready to go. The Argonauts, Valdosta State, what a great track record they've had over the years, could be primed to take the next step. Then you get the Harding Bisons. Tell me where that one's at. I have no idea. But you have a bison, so you know it's a bull, and you got horns. Grand Valley State. We all know about that in Michigan. Could they be poised to make the next step? And then you have the Kutztown Bears. I guess where Candy Evelyn's going to go out there and be worth her weight in gold when she tells us where some of these places are going to be. And you have Pitt State, who's also primed to make the switch, and that's about it. All right, Mel, there could be some interesting teams that'll be on the horizon going to FCS. What are your thoughts about this group?
Not a whole lot. You rattled off a lot of names there. I don't know why everybody wants to go and play with the big boys, because playing with the big boys is very, very expensive. I mean, you have to have a very large budget in order to compete with the big boys, and it's going to take you a long time in order to get there. And now, unless you're a university that really has some resources, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to compete in the FCS. There's only going to be a couple teams, that we're going to be talking about year in and year out, similarly to how it had been before NIL. We're talking about a lot of teams down here in the SEC. They were paying players a long time ago, kind of like the old Southwest Conference. Georgia was paying players, Alabama was paying players, Auburn, LSU. Now everybody is doing it. Now everything is above board. The playing field is level. The rules are published for everyone. And so now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to make that jump unless you can support it with additional revenue that will be coming in by making that jump, and you being able to compete at that level. Now, what compete means is going to be different for every school. Not every one of these schools are going to be able to go out there and compete for national championships. But if they're able to increase their revenue in a way, able to build a bigger stadium, maybe attract better students or more students, or get the name of the university out there so that they're attracting more students, that might increase a little bit of revenue at the university level, then I'm all for it. But other than that, I don't know why everybody wants to jump in the deep end of the pool.
Were there any particular schools, Mel, that stood out of that list that I mentioned?
Ferris State, I mean, that's the one I really heard. You rattled off a bunch of them. Obviously, me being from Michigan, and I know they played.
Right.
I think they played. I remember, when I was younger, going to Ferris State. I mean, that was like a slap in the face. Ferris State, Grand Valley, schools of that nature. I mean, to me, it was D1 or bust. And so I wasn't even thinking about going to schools like that. But, it's great for the state of Michigan if they're able to get another D1 program and give these guys an opportunity to play on a larger stage. That would be great for, some kids there in the state of Michigan that may not otherwise have gotten that opportunity.
Yeah. I'll just mention a couple. They'll turn over to you. Okay. Ferris State, Grand Valley State would be one that intrigues me. West Florida, but the big one is Valdosta State. They've always been a powerhouse at that level. Okay, Ed, go ahead.
No, I was just kind of piggybacking on what Mel was saying. It's going to cost a lot more money. It's going to be, even some of these schools are going to be smaller than a lot of these power universities. So you don't have the student body to pull from for the athletes. And the question then becomes, can you get those good players in? What do you have that these other schools don't? Even if you're in the Michigan area, and I'm kind of the mindset, if you're really strong where you're at and you're consistently winning, if I'm a borderline D1, D2 kid and I'm going to go to a weak D1 school, or I can go to a championship level D2 school, why not go to the champion and go play there and stay where you're strong than going, because you start all over. It's a restart, and there's no guarantee that it's going to be successful. So, and again, it's like we've said in multiple different episodes, it's about, a lot of times it's about the money. There's more money, more TV revenue, more radio, more ads, and so on. So, I just hope the administration, those making the decisions, really think it through. And is that the best move for the student athlete in the end?
Don't kid yourself, though. These FCS players get drafted by the NFL. They really do. The list goes on and on. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, Ferris State does come to mind because they have been back-to-back national championship winners in their division of D2. But at the same time, they're missing one key sport before I think they can make that jump into D1. They don't have a baseball team. They don't have a baseball program. Until they develop a baseball program, I don't think they should, because it's not going to be worth the money for a program that doesn't have that fourth main men's sport that draws all the money. They don't even have a softball team for women. But they do have gymnastics, they have swimming, they have basketball, and they have football. And that. So I think I would hold off on that. Whereas Grand Valley State is borderline a D3 with such a small conference they're in. But the Harding Bisons, I was just looking them up. They have a 350-acre campus 50 miles northeast of Little Rock, Arkansas. They have approximately 10,250 students enrolled for all four classes. So, but they have been all sports dominant. They've won 8 total Great American Conference trophies, the Commissioner's Cup and President's Trophy, including the last every year since 2021. So they have been very dominant, and they have pretty much everything. They got football, women's soccer, women's basketball, men's track and field, women's track and field, and they emptied Oklahoma Baptist 4-year streak in women's track and field as the national champions in that conference. So they have football.
Well, some of that stuff is going to have to go away. They're not going to be able to afford all that.
Right.
Hey, Daniel, thanks for being in here. MDE, glad to have you back in. Your writing is fantastic. Thank you, pal.
Yes, MD, I love him. I think that they might be a little bit overlooked, but again, they don't have a baseball team either. So that's my biggest thing is if they don't have that fourth sport, men's baseball, women's softball as well, because those are big draws for money. Do they really want to be like Montana and North Dakota State and spend that $6 billion to make the move to Division One?
Yeah. All right, Candy.
So I was looking up West Florida because I was kind of curious. They actually began play in 2016, and they won the NC Division II football championship in 2019. So in 3 years, they went from starting the program to winning the football championship. They actually were conference champions also in 2021 and 2022, and their biggest rivalry is Valdosta State, which I thought that was very interesting. They actually started playing when they first started. For the first 6 years of the program's history, the home games were played at Blue Wahoo Stadium, which is where the baseball is, minor league baseball. Then they had built the stadium, but they only practiced on the field. Then they switched the games to on campus. September 11th of 2021 was their first game on campus. And now they're redoing the facility is currently undergoing redevelopment. Stadium is scheduled to open in fall of 2027. And they're going to expect it to accommodate approximately 10,000 spectators, including 7,500 permanent seats, along with premium seating, club areas, and suites. It's part of a phased development, but I just thought that was really interesting since I had never really heard of them. But yeah, they're ones that are transitioning to the FCS in 2026. University of West Georgia is playoff eligible in 2028. So there's a transition when they go from one to the other where they can't be in the playoffs. The same with Mercyhurst University in Pennsylvania. They'll become playoff eligible in 2028. And the University of New Haven also will be eligible in 2028.
Okay. All right, let's continue on. I'm going to go over a list that actually happened in February 2025. But the reason why I'm going that far is because of the age differential of the coach. It actually starts from 73 to 36. I'm not going to mention all the names, but some of the ones out here that stand out. Pete Carroll was 73 at the time that this list came out. Andy Reid was 66. Kellen Moore was actually 36. Mike McDonald was 37. Ben Johnson was 38 with the Bears. I mean, and other ones that are in between. We're talking about Aaron Glenn was 52. Dan Campbell at the time was 48. Dave Canales. And then you have Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh. Well, put it this way. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coaches in their 60s. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in their 50s. And then you have a bunch of them in their 40s as well. So let's just talk about this topic in general without me listing all the names. But obviously, you've got a lot of good ones. Mel, when you talk about the way the NFL's hiring cycles are, what are your thoughts about the fact that this list goes down to Kellen Moore and all the way up at that time to Pete Carroll with a bunch of 60-year-olds in between and a few other ones think about it. Mike McDaniel's no longer on the list. D'Amico Ryans is actually doing a pretty good job with the Texans. Let's see, Kevin O'Connell's still doing all right, and Sean McVay's done a whale of a job. So, all right, and Sean McDermott, he'll get another job before long. So, Mel, some thoughts about this list here as it speaks in terms of the wide range of coaching hires, dating from the 73s all the way down to the mid-30s.
Well, I think the older guys obviously they've been around for a while, so I think it's a familiarity thing. They've done it before. Did it somewhere else, and they'd like to try to do it again. I think they're just trying to hang on. Probably, Pete probably hung on there a little bit too long, or he was just with a bad organization. I don't think he's doing a bad job when he when he got run out of Seattle. Las Vegas job is a tough job, particularly when you're up there in age. It's a very, very difficult job. We'll see how the new guy coming in there fares, but nobody has really done well in Las Vegas since a long time, since since they've been in Oakland, really, since probably Tom Flores, maybe, I don't know, maybe Art Shell, but it's been a long time since somebody's had some success there in with Las Vegas / Oakland. Other than that, everybody's looking for the next Sean McVay. Everybody's looking for the next Kyle Shanahan. Everybody's looking for the next Mike LaFleur. They're looking for the next offensive guru. And so you have that going on, where people are getting hired because of their coaching tree, and then you have retreads that are getting hired. It was very unusual for the last coach, for Cleveland's coach, to get the job, particularly because of his age, and he's never been a head coach before. But again, I think it's just had to do with I know ownership, being familiar with him. They look the same, speak the same language, so that was kind of an easy thing for him to do. They don't want to spend a whole lot of money, and so that was that was the best that they could do given those constraints. But I guess that's kind of my take on that.
Ed?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, depending on whether age a lot of times is just a number. If a lot of teams want to look for that next prodigy offensive mind, as Mel was saying, and then you got the guys who have been around for a while. Some of them keep the ability and keep being able to make it happen. Some of them stay around too long, and I think it really depends on the person. You could have some young guys who are in those big trees, the Shanahans, the Andy Reeds and so on, that come out of it and kind of fall flat on their face, and then Andy's still doing his thing. So I think it really just depends on the person, and kind of getting lucky too, to some extent, to find that either get that, look at Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs was around for the first stint, did really great, and then we brought him back again for a second go round, and it wasn't as great. And some people would say it was ownership or what have you. So I think it has age is a part of it, but I think there's other factors that play into it: the organization, the ownership, and things of that nature that will determine whether the coach, whether old or young, becomes successful.
Like Mel said, everybody's looking for that young stud in Sean McVay. Jeremy, some thoughts about the wide range.
It's just showing that it's becoming a young man's sport. We're having success with some of these younger coaches. Mike McDonald being one of those young coaches that just had extreme success with the Seahawks, taking in the quarterback that Kevin O'Connell never should have got rid of. But that's neither here nor there. These young guys are having success. We saw that Kellen Moore got the Saints, it looked like, on the right track with Tyler Shook towards the end of the season in the last 6 games he started. So there's a lot of trending upward with the younger ones, but there's also the stability of the older ones. Let's face it. Mike Vrabel took the Patriots to the Super Bowl, even though they lost. Sean Payton was almost there, and if they had Bo Nix, they probably would have been there, because Stidham wasn't that good. And so it's a mixed bag. But Jim Harbaugh hasn't been able to get the Chargers out of the first round of the playoffs any more than any other coach that got them there. So they've got some issues to work through. They got to learn how to win when the clutch time's in.
Great points, Jeremy. I like the fact that you mentioned a lot of names. Go ahead, Candy.
I think part of it also is the coaching tree that some of these guys come from, and who they've learned from, and who they've molded some of the young guys, who they've molded their coaching styles after. And sometimes it's the team and the surroundings around you? Like, do you have a good GM? You have a good relationship with the GM? Are you bringing in the right players for your culture? Who are you inheriting? Walking onto, some of these teams, like the Jets situation. Who wanted that job? Nobody. Who, I mean, and then again, some people are meant to be head coaches and some people are meant to stay at a defensive or an offensive coach. We've seen that too. So uh, we'll see if some of these young guys, how well they translate, if it translates to win on the field.
All right, let's go to our variable topic. We're going to start the fact that Audie Crooks enters the transfer portal. Here's a story on her. Obviously, a standout player at Iowa State, and her transferring left Iowa State with just 2 players from last year's Rogers since Sydney Harris is a senior. So they have 10 players in the transfer portal. So Iowa State has now 10 players in the transfer portal that are entering. So let's go over the history of Audie. She finished second in the nation in scoring last season and averaged 22.8 points, 7.7 rebounds per game in 3 years of the Cyclones. So Mel, you obviously like to talk about women's basketball. What are your thoughts about Audie Crooks?
So Audie, she's the center.
Mm-hmm.
Is that that's who she is? Yeah. She's she just entered the transfer portal. Maybe I did see something about that, but it just didn't ring a bell with me. Yeah. I hope she goes to UCLA. She's tough. She's a lot to deal with, and she's very confident in herself. She's got. Whose cuckoo clock is going off?
That's mine. Sorry.
Oh,
That's
problem.
That's okay. Everybody needs interesting reminders. Okay, go
ahead. I like her game. I think I saw something on her. She's a big gal, but she embraces it. She plays hard. Again, I'd love for if she's in the portal right now. I'd love for UCLA to get her. I see UCLA has filled up their roster with some transfers and whatnot. But we'll see. It's kind of late now. She just decided that she's going in the portal. What was the reason why?
No, it's back.
What's that?
Go ahead.
She entered it back in April.
Was she still in there?
No, she's committed to Oklahoma State.
Oh, okay. Well,
so she ended up not going anywhere and staying with them, right? She went into the transfer portal.
She left Iowa State to go to
Oklahoma State. She went to Oklahoma State.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just blowing hot air then.
No, you're not. I don't know why not. Because I'll tell you why you're not blowing hot air. Because I was hoping she'd go to UCLA too. Corey Close, I'll tell you, she would really whip her into shape, and she'd be ready for the pros.
I don't know if that's possible. But I mean, I've watched the girl play, and she's been this way all of her life. And this is who she is. She embraces it. She's 6'3", and she's athletic. She's a lot to deal with. For whatever reason, she decided to leave Iowa State. I haven't had an opportunity to really dive into it to find out what her reasoning was for leaving Iowa State and just staying in the Big 12 and going to Oklahoma State. I don't know, but probably money. Iowa State may not have had the money to give her, and she's going to get a payday, and I'm all for it. She averaged 25 points last year, 7 rebounds, shoots 64% from the field. I'm all for it.
Okay. Ed?
Yeah, I mean, to what Mel was saying, I mean, it's she's a powerhouse. You can't teach size, and she's bringing almost 26 points a game for Oklahoma State. The unfortunate part is we see once again the transfer portal is gutting a team, and Iowa State is going to have to kind of completely rebuild and loses one of their best players. And it's coming into the haves and have-nots, but that's the kind of world we live in with regards to college athletics. I mean, she chose to stay with the Big 12 in Oklahoma State, and Maryland, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and Iowa were all in contention for. So, it was probably a money thing, and more power to her. And best of luck. She makes Oklahoma State an automatic contender in my mind.
Okay, Jeremy.
My biggest thing is as long as she stays healthy, I care less about what size the girl is. As long as she keeps doing what she's doing, plays the full season, that's what matters, because she's been doing it at that size her entire life, which means she's conditioned herself to that size. But does she need to shed some weight? Is she overweight? It really depends on the person's opinion. But it's what she thinks about herself, and she has defended it vehemently.
Well, the only thing I'll say about that is she can defend it that way all along. As she gets into the WNBA and they're faster, she's going to automatically get into shape anyway. And she'll be playing against better competition. But more power to her, she can continue to be productive where she's at. But the WNBA is a different animal. Go ahead, Candy.
I'll give you 1.4 million reasons why she transferred. That is her new NIL, 1.4 million. She also, let's be honest here. So they're in the same conference, but Iowa last year they have lost 9 players to transfers and graduations. They tied for 7th in the Big 12 last year. Their record was 10-8. They were ousted in the first round of the NC2A tournament, whereas Oklahoma State finished tied for 4th. And so 1.4 million reasons, finishing higher in the standings. And I can see, why some people, and Crooks also joins Florida's Liv McGill, who transferred as well. So 2 of the highest coveted players were recruited. So I get it.
I like MDE's comment. Robert Tractor Trailer.
Yeah.
This was good. Go ahead, Jeremy, and read it.
I know. Robert Tractor Trailer couldn't shake the weight in the NBA, and it cost him a career. It worked in college, but not against the best of the best in the NBA. Is she him?
I don't know.
I don't think so, because actually I think she brings a little bit more of a refined game than he did. She's actually, what she has that I don't think he did was she is considered, she has better foot, and she has better agility, and she has better
better shooting skills,
footwork, she has better shooting skills in the paint and outside. So I think
because she's not dunking. She's not dunking.
No,
right?
Yeah, I think MDE said it. I think made the comment about more like a female Shaq or Wilt, and I think that's probably more of a accurate.
I think she's more of like a Wilt, because Wilt was more of a, even though he could dunk, he was more of a shooter than Shaq was.
She has scored 30 or more points 17 times in her college career, 5 of those games being 40 or more, and her career high was 47 points.
She's a matchup problem for anybody in the WNBA. I mean, there aren't that many women that big that are going to be able to match up with her, and the physicality of that game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the trajectory of her career goes. All right, let's continue on back to football. I still find it hard to believe. I want to ask everybody the same thing, okay, that the Jets never got an interception all of last year. Mel, I mean, what are your thoughts? The Jets did not get an interception all of last year.
That's not good. It's either, your DBs. I mean, that's something that you take pride in, is taking the ball away from the opposing team. So, I mean, I don't know if that's a mindset. I don't know if it's a scheme. I don't know what that is, but I would think that that's pretty hard to do. And I'm sure that they're going to work. I'm sure they've talked about it, and that's something that they've identified, and they're going to work on it, and they're going to get better at it. in the off season, and I'm sure they plan on taking the ball away this coming season. They don't want it's kind of like going 0-16 or 0-17. That's not something that you want to be known for. So I'm sure that Aaron Glenn and the guys are going to work on it, and maybe this year they'll lead the league in interceptions.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah. Well, defense wins championships, and part of the defense is turnover ratio. If you're not, there's two types of turnovers: fumbles and interceptions. If your DBs aren't making interceptions, then you have to be getting fumbles. And if you're not getting fumbles, probably not stopping the opposing offense. And to be honest with you, it's kind of the Jets' life at this point. It seems like if something can go wrong in football, the Jets are usually in the conversation of, oh, what team doesn't have any interceptions? I think 90% of the people would say the Jets.
Jeremy?
And James Burgess is exactly right there about the 0 interceptions is very rare in the NFL. They should defense should accidentally get one from the ball bouncing off of a wide receiver's hands. But here's the most damning thing about that. Sauce Gardner was traded at the trade deadline, only played 2 games for the Colts and had 2 interceptions before he was out the rest of the year with an injury. Think about that. One of the best corners his rookie season before Aaron Glenn got there had 0 interceptions for 9 straight games. This has more to do about the fact that, and I've said this so many times about a rookie coach. I don't care how good the rookie coach is, but if they're a defensive mindset, they need a veteran offensive coordinator. If they are an offensive mindset, they need a veteran defensive coordinator. He went with a rookie offensive coordinator, the guy that was the passing game coordinator for the Lions under Ben Johnson, and Tanner Engstrom, thinking he'd strike gold.
And where's Tanner at, by the way? Did he get rehired?
No, he did not get re-signed this year. They have a new OC.
Yeah, but did he land another NFL job?
Let me check on that for you.
I am curious. Will you do that, Candy? Go ahead.
The 2025 Jets made NFL history. Yes, becoming the first team to complete a full season without recording a single interception. But the other stat that you guys didn't mention either is through all 17 games, the Jets defense only forced 4 total turnovers in 17 games, all of which were fumble recoveries. That to me, between interceptions and fumbles, only taking the ball away 4 times in 17 games, I'm mind-boggled, mind-blown, knowing that they hired a defensive head coach.
And they traded away 3 of those when they traded their defensive tackle to Dallas. But Tanner Engstrom did get another job. He's the passing game coordinator now for the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, good. Thanks for the information. Okay. All right, let's continue on. We all know that the draft is not an exact science, but got to tell you, let's go with the Detroit Lions first round misses over the years and who they could have picked. Okay. And let's start with this. Yeah, Charles Rogers, who could they have had? Troy Polamalu, Andre Johnson, Terrell Suggs, Kevin Williams, Roy Williams. You could have had Ben Roethlisberger, Vince Wilfork, Jonathan Vilma, D'Angelo Hall. This was scary. Mike Williams, who they could have picked. They could have had Aaron Rodgers, DeMarcus Ware, Roddy White, and Thomas Davis. But they opted to get the wide receiver out of USC. Nick Fairley. They could have had Cam Jordan, Cam Hayward, Mike Pouncey, Robert Quinn. Eric Ebron. You could have had Aaron Donald, Zach Martin, Odell Beckham Jr., Jared Davis. You could have had TJ Watt, Ryan Ramczyk, Tre'Davious White, Jeff Okuda. You could have had Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Herbert, Tristan Wirfs, and Derek Brown. Well, I'll tell you what, Mel. That's who they could have had. What are your thoughts about those Lions? Yeah, this is. I know. I'm with you, MD. This is hurting your soul. Ouch. In a lot of ways.
I got a quick question. Did you mention the fact that we took Terry Fair over Randy Moss?
No, I wasn't on that
No.
list, but you can. But now you've added it, so it doesn't matter if I
Yep.
mentioned it. You did. So go ahead. We'll start
So
up at
run
the
down
top.
that
Mel,
list one more time for me. Run down that list one more time for me,
you really want me to do that?
please.
You really want me to do
He
that?
does.
There were a lot
You
of
want
good
me- you
guys.
want-
Detroit missed out on a
Yes,
lot of
the
good
art of
players.
talk.
Well, I mean, you could do that. Me and my brother were looking at it the other day when we were talking
Well, here,
about
let me-
Terry and Arnold and who the Lions
Yeah, all
could
right.
have
So
picked
here,
up.
let me go over. If you really insist me to do it, you got Charles Rogers, 2003. We know how that turned out. Roy Williams, Mike Williams, Nick Fairley, Eric Ebron, Gerard Davis, Jeff Okuda. That's who they had. And some of the players that they could have had, well, some of the ones that stand out were obviously, I think, our Andre Johnson. Boy, that was a mistake if I ever saw one. He's in the Hall of Fame. But they tried to keep the Rogers home. So let's see, Andre Johnson. Then you've got Troy Polamalu, too, is another one who the Pittsburgh Steelers benefited greatly. Terrell Suggs.
Here's the reality. Just because, say like Troy Polamalu, because he was great in Pittsburgh doesn't necessarily mean he was going to be great in Detroit, especially with what they had going on at that particular time. I don't know if that was Patricia there, if Matt Millen was still there. I don't know what was going on. I mean, he's the one that drafted 3 wide receivers in the first round 3 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
What are you doing that, and high quality draft picks as well? And I don't think, unfortunately, I saw Charles Rogers play in high school. I mean, I saw him run track in high school. I mean, it's unfortunate what happened to him there. Maybe if he would have gone somewhere else, maybe things would have been different. If he got away from home, wasn't so close to home, maybe things could have turned out differently for him. But, again, hindsight's always 2020. Hindsight's always 2020. Like I said, me and my brother were just looking at Terry and Arnold, and I'm trying to understand how he was drafted in the first round, how he was a second cornerback. I believe it's the second cornerback taken off the board. How that happened. I know he's had size, but he didn't have speed. He ran a 4.5, and you could see, in his play, he just never had that catch-up speed and the trail technique, and he grabbed all the time. I'm looking at the guys that went after him, and we're talking about the people that the Lions could have drafted, guys in the second round. The kid that's down there in who was it? Was it the guy in Philly? The guy in Philly, I think. Who's the guy from Philly? Went to Iowa.
Cooper DeJean.
I think he was. He was drafted in the second round. You could have had Cooper DeJean that year. Okay, you might have overdrafted. Big deal. Okay, if everybody was saying he was a second round draft pick, I know one thing: he can run, he can cover. He's made the Pro Bowl. So like I said, hindsight's always 2020.
Okay. Eddie?
Yeah, you just never know with the draft picks. It's like we were talking about the coaches. In some respect, Odell Beckham in Detroit versus where he ends up, could be two different scenarios. You just due to the type of offense that's being run, or Cooper DeJean ends up in Detroit, he could be a big bust. I mean, look at the Commanders in RG3. I mean, we thought he was going to be the next great thing, and he was ended up being a bust, and we took him early. I mean, I think you just never know. Even if you take the high draft picks, you just don't know. And and look at and I mean, you just don't know. It's you can find diamonds in the rough down in the seventh. As our Mr. Brady was found, or wherever he was down in that little area, or Cooper DeJean down in the second round. I think it's just they do the analysis, they figure out who fits their program, and they try to make it work. And it's draft picks are a roll of the dice.
Yeah, they really are. Like I said, there's no exact science. Jeremy?
Well, I'm going to go back even further. Like I said, the 98 draft is the one that got me because we picked a punt returning cornerback out of Virginia instead of Randy Moss because he smoked weed.
Yeah.
The very next pick, Minnesota takes him. And what happens? He's a Hall of Famer. So, this has been a track record for decades. It's not just a one-time thing. Taking the Heisman winner, Andre Ware. Think how many people in that draft was better than him. You could go back through a list, but the 3 wide receivers in a row by Matt Millen, that was like the biggest definition of insanity, as Einstein put it. Keep doing the same thing and hoping it gets better, expecting a different result.
Well, along those same lines that Jeremy's talking about, the Redskins took Desmond Howard the year after he won the Heisman Trophy. He did nothing for us. Then went to Green Bay the next year and became the Super Bowl MVP.
Yep.
So I mean,
it's the team,
it's
the coaching, it's the
Exactly.
mentality in the locker room. It is not just about the player, but there are certain times where you look at that and the talent is so good, it wouldn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, but Jeremy, let me mention one thing about Andre Ware, and I totally know where you're coming from there. Wayne Fonts, in that particular point, wanted a run and shoot guy, and because I was covering the Lions back then and covered them, and he even told me, you know what? Here's the deal. There probably are better quarterbacks, but it's a situation where the system was more what they were looking for. But you're right. I'm not downplaying it, but I covered the team, and I had a good working relationship with Wayne Fonts, and he was going to run and shoot. Now, what destroyed Ware was holding out. It's not like he had a rookie salary cap; he had to get in there right away, and he missed a lot of reps early, and that's a doomed him from the beginning. And then you were back to the Rodney Pete, and Andre Ware's career could never get back on track. So I don't know if I bother.
Wayne never wanted Rodney. Wanted Andre.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Huh? Wayne never wanted Andre.
No, he didn't. But he was a run and shoot guy, and I think Miles Davis was the offensive coordinator at the time, if I remember right, and he did. And obviously,
they had Rodney there, and Rodney was doing a heck of a job running the run and shoot.
Yeah, he would. But to be honest with you, they should have never gotten rid of Eric Kramer in the first place. So we can get into that debate all day long.
Well, they were all there. They were all there together.
Right, exactly. But they only went with Andre Ware because of the run and shoot. That's it. Other than that, that's as far as
he put up big numbers. Andre put up big numbers in college. And he looks the part getting off the bus. He's big, he's sturdy. He wasn't the most mobile, but he knew that run and shoot. There's no question about it. He put up big numbers in that run and shoot offense. Big numbers with Jack Pardee down there. He put up big numbers.
Oh yeah, no question. I mean,
he just really never got a fair shake, to be honest with you, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, but part of that's
James Bridges for the win.
But I hate to sell. That's his fault because he held out. One thing you can't do, especially back then, you can't hold out, especially if you're a rookie. But I mean, I get you. And he got off on the wrong foot. He never simply recovered.
That's the one I was talking about. They should have signed Warren Moon. Now I have to go to the fetal in the corner and suck my thumb.
That's funny.
Oh, they signed Warren Moon. Who did they have back then?
Instead of drafting Andre Ware, we should have just signed Warren Moon, is what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
That makes a lot more sense to me.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a lot of people.
Then Warren Moon probably is not a Hall of Famer.
Right. Well, if you'd have paired him with Barry Sanders in that receiving corps, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. All right, well, you know what?
They made Scott Mitchell look good for a year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
What I do know is we have time for a station break. Candy, did you comment on this one?
I did not comment on this one.
Well, then comment on it and give us a station break.
So I mean, every team can say that they missed on some. Let's face it. I mean, as painful as it was, the Green Bay Packers drafted Tony Mandrich. ahead of how many other players? And look at how many
Barry?
teams.
Ahead
Look
of
at
Barry?
how many teams picked and waited and didn't take Tom Brady. We can all sit there. I mean, he went in the 6th round. So how many teams drafted before?
Pick 199, 198 picks ahead of him.
Nobody
Exactly.
drafted Kurt Warner.
Yep.
I mean,
nobody
that's
drafted
true.
Kurt Warner.
In 2020, you guys took cornerback Jeff Okudah. In that draft, after him was Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Herbert,
Mhm.
Jordan Love, all of those. We all of our teams can go back and say that we
But at
missed.
the time, Jeff Okudah was considered the best cornerback and the 3rd prospect overall in that draft. So that's
Yeah, I
why he
remember
went 3rd. You know, you could say what you want. Even the draft prognosticators get it wrong. The best ones are only 32% right.
Draft they have no skin in the game. They have nothing in it.
No, but I'm just saying they rank these players according to how they feel they did in college. But it doesn't mean it translates into pros. We've seen this. It's the reason why
The NFL is a very hard game. It's not.
Oh, yeah,
as
I'm
easy.
not saying
It's a
it
very
isn't.
difficult game.
Right. I'm just saying even the draft scouts get it wrong. But it's about getting the fit. Like drafting Kyle Van Noy the first year we had Matt Patricia, who was a 3-4 linebacker, and trying to make him play 4-3. He didn't do anything until he went to the Patriots on his 2nd contract.
But he's with Patricia. It's the same person, right? That's the same defense.
No, we ran a 4-3 at the time. It wasn't a 3-4.
Let's go back to Tony Mandrich, though, Jeremy. He was referred to as the best offensive line prospect ever during his college football career with the Michigan State Spartans. And yet, look at him.
He was on steroids, and everybody knew it.
And who refresh me, that running back that went after him, what was his career like?
It's pretty good.
I mean, every team has done it, though. Like,
every
all
team
had our busts, you know.
And
I get it.
And Deion was in that draft too.
Yeah, but Deion already said if he was drafted by the Lions, he'd sit out and go back to school. So
yeah, the Lions.
He
but
wasn't.
if you have Barry Sanders sitting there, are you going to take Deion Sanders or Barry Sanders? I mean,
I'm taking Barry.
Okay,
I'm taking Barry.
Well, you know, Deion Sanders also made a comment too that if the Lions, you better have enough money to put me on layaway, and that's what really
right. They drafted him. They couldn't afford him. They'd have to put him on layaway.
Yeah, and that's when I lost all respect for Deion Sanders to begin with. So I don't know. Deion's
you lost respect for him. He was just speaking his mind.
Well, that's fine. Speaking his mind, I never cared for him then, and I don't care for him now. But what I do care for is the station break, Candy, and you can go ahead and let them know how your new travel show day went.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Audiobook is also out there. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where we have a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you see the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to the South Florida Tribune's YouTube channel. QR code up in the top is South Florida Tribune's YouTube channel right now. On Monday night, we debuted on South Florida Tribune and Destination Discovery's Media Network the new No Limits Travel show. Me and Rob, 30 minutes Monday nights, typically around 7:10-ish, and we talk travel. So we talked this week about travel. We're going to talk about it again in 2 weeks. So if you would subscribe to that channel as well. Our numbers weren't bad. I have to thank everybody that was in the chat room that night, and but we look in order to improve that. Obviously, we were up against some World Cup soccer leading into it. So, but we will do more. So definitely check out Destination Discoveries Media Network YouTube channel. And if you want to be a part of any of our shows or you want to sponsor a show, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Okay, back to you, Scott.
Well, you know, it's time to get that Mel's viewpoint. Go ahead, Mel. What's on your mind this week?
What's on my mind this week?
Yeah, we're going to go to your segment. Then we're going to go to Jeremy's afterwards.
Yeah, Marshall Falk did an interview a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about they're asking him a question, I think, about something to do with black head coaches and the representation in college football, the lack of representation, the lack of black head coaches in D1 college football, but versus the number of players that play the game, and for whatever reason, coaches are having a hard time. African American coaches are having a difficult time getting those jobs, and the ones that do get the jobs generally really have to pay some sort of dues. I mean, you look at Deion Sanders; he started coaching in high school, then he went to Jackson State, then he ultimately gets the job there at Colorado. You look at Marshall. I mean, I don't know what he was doing before he went to Colorado and started working with Deion. But then he parlayed that, and I think he has a job. I believe it's at Southern. I believe it's where he's coaching. And he was comparing, JJ Redick, who was doing nothing, he had a podcast, and he gets a head coaching job at one of the marquee franchises in the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers. He kind of equated that to, the Los Angeles Rams would never hire him off the street to become the head football coach of the Los Angeles Rams, and just the disparity in what African American coaches have to do in order to get a head coaching job versus their white counterparts. My brother and I were having this conversation again. I think over the weekend, we were looking at the Washington Commanders, their offensive coordinator, David Blau. I know you guys remember him. He was a quarterback for the Detroit Lions a few years ago, started a few games, has a wife that ran in the Olympics, represents Colombia, I believe it is, and ran in the Olympics. And we're talking about, he's suddenly ascended to the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. And, we talked about, and he's on the fast track to become a head coach based on certain things that people have stated. And we looked at Eric Bieniemy. He's been in that coaching conversation for 5 years. Byron Leftwich was he was in that coaching conversation for a little bit. Then he got fired from his offensive coordinator position, and now he's working, I believe, at Colorado at Deion Sanders as an assistant coach. And you look at a lot of head coaches. Everybody's looking for the next young Sean McVay, Mike LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, and those guys come from offensive coordinators, but African Americans aren't getting the offensive coordinator jobs. We have plenty of offensive position quarterbacks, but there's no offensive coordinators. Very few black offensive coordinators. Now we get defensive coordinators all day long, but owners aren't really hiring defensive-minded head coaches. Everybody wants an offensive-minded head coach so that they can kind of fill the shoes of being head coach / offensive coordinator in the in the mold of your Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike LaFleur. Matt LaFleur. Matt or Mike? Matt. Whoever's Matt. In Green Bay, which one is it up there in Green Bay? Candy. Matt or Mike? Matt. Okay. Matt. Everybody wants to know Matt LaFleur. And what's the guy in Minnesota? O'Connell. That's what they're looking for, and they're looking for everybody that's coming out of that tree too. And so, how many African American coordinators were in that tree? Not many. I think Anthony
Lynn.
Anthony Lynn was a coordinator for a brief moment up in San Francisco. I'm not mistaken, but I think he may have gotten canned. I can't remember. I think they may have
he left. Him. He left because he was hired as the Bills head coach, who he got fired from. Then he was hired as San Diego's head coach, and what he was fired over what happened with Tyrod Taylor in San Diego during Justin Herbert's rookie year, because he had an injury and he directed the
No, you
the
can't
strength
say he's
and
not the
conditioning
doctor.
coach.
I mean, they want
No,
to
he
place the blame on
directed
him.
them to try and fix it instead of sending them to the doctor, to the hospital. And when they tried to fix it, they punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung, which actually cost him a year of playing time.
Yeah, but the point is, the opportunities aren't there, and the opportunities aren't coming the same way as they are coming for the white counterparts. And I think Marshall laid it out very thoughtfully and made many very very valid points. And I hope that he does extremely well in his new head coaching job.
I remember when Bieniemy was up for a whole bunch of interviews the one year, and he declined 13 out of 19 interviews himself. So Eric Bieniemy.
So I mean,
I love it. I love the fact that that he did go to a few, but I don't understand. I maybe he just didn't want to go to those places, whatever it is. But I don't understand if you want to become a head coach and there's 19 teams trying to talk to you and you turn down 13 of them, that doesn't look good to the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, but some all jobs aren't created equal. So you're in Kansas City, you have a very good job, and the Raiders want a head coach, and that front office is the way that it is. You go in there, the Jets want a head coach. That organization is the way that it is. How long do you see? You're not going to last long. You're going to be there 2 years and out. 2 years and out. Pete Carroll, did he last a year? He lasted a year. He was gone. Anthony Glenn, he's going to last 2 years and be gone. Robert Saleh, how long he last? 2 years and a little bit. He lasted 4 years.
I thought it was his fourth season when he was
or 3 years and a little bit.
Yep.
And he was a good coach. He was a good coach. I think he did some good things. If they would have just hung in there with him, I think he could have done some good things. He could have helped them out a lot. They're going to find out what they missed, here very, very shortly when we see how well Tennessee performs.
Exactly. I was thinking the same. All right, let's go to Jeremy's segment. Then we'll get everything going. I want to get all this other stuff out so I can get back to the rest of the topics. What do you got for me, Jeremy?
Well, I want to talk about the one thing I didn't get to talk about last week because you said to save it for this week, but I think it's one of your topics. So I don't know if
that's okay.
Talk about. Okay.
Well,
the Terrion Arnold situation. When you hear his high school coach, Nick Saban, and the Lions head coach all writing referral letters to his character, and they were all read at that trial last Monday when he was given his bond. And the federal court judge said, the lesser judge should have never did what he did to him. He deserved bond because there's some things that there is questionable in the whole thing. And they also withheld stuff from his defense lawyer that should have been made available because it's for his case. But he has never been in legal trouble through the 3 years prior with Detroit, the time at Alabama, nor in high school. I wish the best for the young man. I hope they do find that he's actually innocent. I don't know. I'm not going to pass judgment because I don't know the details of what the other confessions are by the
he's
guy.
Innocent until proven guilty, right?
Right.
Let's go to the chat room and I have more. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jeremy. Go ahead and finish your thought.
I think we jumped the gun because as soon as the bond was set, you heard that the Lions had released Terrion Arnold. And it's funny that one of the teams that he has an interview scheduled for at the end of this month is the one that had 0 interceptions last year.
So well, that's his old coach.
Yeah, that'd be reuniting him with his old defensive coordinator.
Yeah. That's if he gets out. I mean, that's hard. That's a lot to play with. On your mind. A very, very good friend of mine went through not a similar situation, but he went through a very bad situation, and he was convicted, and he did a lot of time. On a federal case, a lot of time.
Because the Florida has that 3-strike felony rule. And the fact that he's been linked to 8 total felonies, 2 of them conspiracy, 8 is committing, and the other 6 are the commitment of what was done. it's an automatic life sentence. If it was in any other place that did it by the years, if you add up 8 felonies that are class 2 to class 1 felonies, he'd be doing 80 to 120 years. That's life in prison, no matter what state you're in.
True. Okay. All right. Let's continue on here. All right. As we proceed, one school that could be on the hot seat. So is it a do or die season for head coach Luke Fakella in Wisconsin? Let's go over the particulars. Wisconsin has had no back-to-back losing seasons. This is not the Wisconsin standard. So I repeat, Wisconsin has had back-to-back losing season, and it's not the Wisconsin standard. The Badgers went and got their quarterback, Old Dominion transfer and Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Year, Colton Joseph. Alongside Joseph, they are also bringing in running back Abu Sama III, 1.9 career rushing yards, 1,900, as well as a Marvin Burks Jr. to hold down the secondary. They have an elite quarterback room. Elite linebacker room in Mason Posas, who had 61 tackles, along with 4 sacks, a true freshman, and Cooper Cantala with 19 tackles in for a single game versus Washington. Wisconsin also has one of the easier Big Ten schedules. They play 6 of 7 bottom teams from last season. We'll continue on. Last year's schedule obviously included 4 eventual college football playoff teams. The Badgers are hoping they can make the most of their schedule this year. So there you have. So all right, let's lead off with our Wisconsin person, Candy. What are your thoughts about Luke Fakell? Obviously, you know that he's underachieved a little bit, but we'll just go from there.
Wisconsin has had some other changes as well. And the one big one that I was going to say is AD. Chris McIntosh stepped down. And so we hired Sean Eichhorst.
Right.
He's returning to his home state, heading back to the Big Ten as Wisconsin athletic director nearly a decade after Nebraska had fired him for the same position. He most recently worked as Texas deputy athletic director and chief operating officer. Now, I have been a huge critic of Luke Fakell, I'll be honest. But Chris McIntosh, before he left, had also said that we maybe didn't give him enough resources as well. We are not Michigan. We do not have the deep pockets of Michigan, Ohio State, some of those schools. But you also have to be competitive. And so you have to give them resources. And so I would hope that we have given him more resources. I'm not quick although I was very quick. I wanted the hook. Wisconsin had been consecutive years for like 20 years been in bowl games. And then all of a sudden, now we haven't been. And so that kind of hurt too. I'm willing to give Luke another year or two. He's also had some bad luck. The first quarterback, the number 1 quarterback that he recruited, the last 3 years have all gone down with injuries. That makes a big difference too. And you can't necessarily control injuries. So we did it, but we do need to see some results pretty soon here, or yes, we need to move on. So it very well could be a hot seat. I don't know, because we have a new AD, whether he will give him a little bit longer of a string to work with. Let's put it that way.
This Knowles comment, UW needs to talk to Miller Brewing Company. The opportunities. That's pretty good.
That or old Milwaukee.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Jerry, pick it up from there.
I think he does deserve another year, because if you look, that cupboard's been pretty bare. And I'll tell you how bare it was. Last year, they had 0, count them, 0 drafted players in this last draft. Considering they graduated, I think it was 13 players combined on both sides of the ball. That's not a good sign for Wisconsin. So, if you're not good enough to have pro prospects, you're probably not putting out a good product.
They went 4-8.
I know.
Mhm.
Right.
Like I
And
said,
5-7 the year
Right.
before.
but again, what Candy said, losing your starting quarterback 3 years in a row at the beginning of the season doesn't help.
No, it really doesn't. Okay, Eddie.
Yeah, you better figure out a way. Was it because of injury or they left?
That's
Injury.
injury every time.
Yeah, get it back
Well,
up. Next
here
man up.
exactly. Well, here's the thing. Under Fickle, they're 17-21. Before, as we said, 4-8 last year. To Candy's point, they've actually gone and gotten 30 players out of the transfer portal for the upcoming year. This is kind of the way I look at it. In today's environment, the head coach is like a CEO of a company because they don't have stock investors. They have the boosters that are putting the money into the NIL and all the people putting money into the program. That when you're in the Big Ten and you're whether you're one of the haves or have-nots, and Wisconsin's they don't have the resources of some of the other schools, but they're going to be expected to at least be competitive. And I think at a 4-8 or 17-21, it's going to be hard to convince people to keep putting money into the program without some kind of change. And it's it's an unfortunate situation because you can't control injuries, but injuries are a part of football. And to Mel's point, you got to have somebody waiting in the wings that wants to pick the ball up and run with it or throw it, whichever it might be. Personally, I think he's probably got this season to show, especially since they've made the investment with the 30 transfers. Getting into it, I think at a minimum he's got to qualify for a bowl game, or he's going to be going to Miller Brewing Company and maybe working on the line next year.
Okay, Mel.
I always speak fondly of Wisconsin. That was the first recruiting letter I ever received was from Wisconsin because the guy who used to work at Ford Motor Company he went to Wisconsin, so he had an inside track to somebody in the athletic department. That's the first letter I received. Luke Fickell, I liked him at Cincinnati. I thought he was a very good coach. I thought he would have done better than what he's done at Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's a program that's always been very tough since Barry Alvarez. I can't remember the guy who came in there after Barry, but he did very well. I can't remember what happened to him. If he got fired or he moved on. Did he leave? He leave and go to Arkansas? Is that who that guy was? No, he went somewhere in the SEC, not Arkansas, but somewhere.
Brett Bielema was in there. Yep, he was in there, and so was
he left, right? And now he's at what, Purdue, Indiana, or something like that now.
Illinois, I think.
But he left Illinois, so he went for greener pastures somewhere down the SEC. He couldn't make it and bounced around a little bit, and he's found himself back up there in the Big Ten. But Wisconsin, they were known for running the football. They got to get back to what they're known for. I mean, they get those big old offensive linemen from Wisconsin, Iowa, up there in the Midwest, and they were road graders, and they ran the football. And they throw the football when they needed to throw the football. I mean, that's where Russell Wilson went. I mean, that's where he perfected that little pick pass he has. The ones that goes up real high, gets wet, and comes down. But they got to get back to doing what they're known for doing, and that's running the football. I hope that he's able to do it. I mean, if ever there was a time to do it, this would be the year with the schedule that he has. And if he's not able to get it done, if he's not able to get it done this year, that's going to be trouble. I mean, they play, you're talking about them playing the bottom half of the league. They were down there in the bottom half of the league as well. So they're playing UCLA this year. They're going to play, Michigan State, USC, Rutgers, Iowa, Purdue, Maryland. They aren't playing Michigan. They're not playing Ohio State this year. They do play Penn State, but Penn State has a new coach there now, so it's not going to be the Penn State that they're accustomed to. They do play Notre Dame. So they do have a couple difficult games, but I think they're also playing Western Illinois as well. So if they're going to get it done, this would be the year for him to get it done because he's not playing a lot of the big boys in the Big Ten this year. And unfortunately, if he probably doesn't get it done this year, his seat is going to get warm as the year goes on. If they drop some of these earlier games and they play Western Illinois and they play Eastern Michigan. They start out the year with Notre Dame. So, I mean, they're going to find out who they are real quick.
I
Yeah,
will.
go ahead, Candy.
I just want to add one more thing. Luke Fickle is currently working under a 6-year contract that runs through March of 2032 with an average annual salary of around 7.8 million, which includes scheduled yearly raises. The contract includes a massive buyout clause. If the university were to terminate him without cause, he is owed 80% of what remains on his initial contract. For example, a buyout could cost Wisconsin over $20 million.
Yeah, I mean, old Milwaukee, they could pay that. That's no big deal. Or one of them cheese curd
Yeah.
farms, they can handle that. That's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is a make or break year for Luke Fickell. You got a new
Yes.
AD in there, and like any new AD, let me see what I've got. Give him a little bit of tools, and if you don't like what you see, there are 35 college jobs that turned over last year. We'll see whether or not this becomes one this year. Let's continue on. Brad Holmes is definitely not perfect because the 2024 draft class is shaping up to be a disaster. Among the players that were selected were Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, Giovanni Manu, Sione Vaki, Mackay, Wingo, and Christian Mahogany.
Okay, well, he's still there, isn't he? I mean, he was like on all rookie team or something like that his rookie year.
Well, I'm just listing his draft class. So go ahead, comment on those players, Mel.
I mean, I wasn't really never high on the BYU guy anyway. I think he went to BYU or Utah, one of those schools, because he played running back and he played DB. I think he should have probably
Utah.
They probably should have kept him over there on the defensive side of the ball. But look, it's a crapshoot. They get all the praise and all the credit when they get it right. And hey, you got to be willing to stand there and take the bullets when you get it wrong. And just obviously Terrion Arnold sticks out because of what he's going through right now. And then you look at his production. Had he been productive, the Lions wouldn't have let him go. But because he has not lived up to his draft status, that's why the Lions are looking at let him go. I mean, the guy led the league in penalties, I think his rookie year or something like that. I mean, he grabs. He hasn't played the position very well. It seems like the Lions like to play a lot of man-to-man. At 4-5, it's very difficult, other than, it's very difficult to play man-to-man when you're 4-5 and you're up against guys that are running 4-3, 4-4, stuff like that, unless you're just playing at a 4-5 speed or you're playing faster than 4-5. You're playing at 4-4 speed. I haven't seen him do that. Now, he doesn't mind putting his head in there. He's a big physical guy, but as far as coverage, he's a liability. In a couple ways. Number one, because he can't run and he can't cover, and because he's penalty, he gets a lot of penalties. So yeah, he stands out right now because of all the trouble that he's in right now. Had he not gotten in this trouble, nobody would really be talking about Terrion Arnold. They'd be talking about the fact that they didn't pick up his 5th-year option or something like that, next year or whenever that time came. But yeah, you're going to win some, and you probably are going to lose a lot when you're a general manager. If you're hitting on all of them, like the Rams seem to do, when you hit on a lot, then yeah, people make a big deal out of it. When you miss on a lot, people are going to make a big deal out of that as well. For a long time, people talked about Brad Holmes and his drafts and how well he's drafted. A couple of these draft picks have been kind of head scratchers without question.
True. Very well. I think the thing you nailed it right there, Mel. If a guy's playing at an elite level, there's more tolerance, but he wasn't. That's why it was easier to make the decision to let him go. Now he will get another chance somewhere, but still, I agree. I mean, maybe. Unless
he's in a correctional facility. I mean, those are serious allegations.
Yeah, well, that's true. Okay, Eddie.
They say the adjustment from college to pro ball is very difficult. And I would assume that it's difficult whether you're a first-round draft pick or you're the last man pick.
Let me interrupt you. Let me just say this: it depends on where you went to school and depends on how you were coached. One thing that the people that I went to school with and we always talked about, the biggest jump for me, was from high school to college. That was the biggest adjustment period in learning that offense. from college to pro, it wasn't that big of an adjustment because of the coaching that we had. We had very good coaching, and we talk about that amongst ourselves all the time when we'd go in the meeting rooms and we'd be looking at film and stuff like that, how far people were behind us in as far as understanding defenses and how defenses works and all that kind of stuff, and why you're doing what you're doing.
But I'm sorry, isn't the speed of the game a little bit? Isn't it faster in the pro level?
Not if you're playing big time football. No, not if you're playing big time football.
All right, fair enough.
It's speed
that's good to know.
Overall is going to be faster because every position is going to be fast. But as far as like a dramatic increase in speed, no. Biggest speed adjustment was from high school to college, because high school, you have not everybody's a great athlete. You have some good athletes. Right. When you go to college, everybody's a great athlete.
Right.
When you go to the pros, obviously everybody's a superior athlete.
Good to know. No, thank you for sharing that. That's good to know. No, but back to what we were talking about. It's draft picks. It's some of them you're going to hit on, some of them you're not, and then you get the like our friend we've been talking about. You run into some legal issues and it just complicates the matter. So you're dealing with people, and you just never know when it comes right down to it.
Jeremy?
Well, everybody says he wasn't good, but they forget, the first 4 weeks was awful last year for Terrion Arnold. Everybody forgets the last 4 weeks until he got injured and how he actually played and who he was up against. Week 5 at Cincinnati, he covered Jamar Chase, who was targeted 9 times with 3 catches for 39 yards. He had 2 passes defended and 1 tackle. And the big stat in that, Jamar Chase, before Terrion got hurt in the fourth quarter, had 0 touchdowns. His 61 yards came in the fourth quarter with the backup taking his spot. In week 6, when he came back to play versus Justin Jefferson, 7 targets, 3 catches, 29 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 passes defended, 1 interception, and 3 tackles. And we're versus Scary Terry, 1 pass defended, 0 interceptions, 2 tackles, but he had no explosive plays. Scary Terry did not have 1 catch over 20 yards in that game. And then in week 8, he was covering Romeo Dobbs. He had no pass breakups. He had more tackling than coverage impact, which was 4, 0 passes defended, and 0 interceptions. And in week 10, it was when he got hurt.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he covered some very elite wide receivers in that time and didn't allow them to break out against him. That's all I'm saying. So he was developing. Then he got hurt.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, Candy, you have the last word on it. I have plenty more things I want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, draft picks are very hit and miss. It's where you went to school, where you're getting drafted now, who's helping you along the way, who are your teammates. Some are hit, some are not. Again, I mean, and it doesn't matter what team. They've all hit some and they've all missed on some. And sometimes it's about the right fit, going to the right fit. Let's face it, Caleb Williams was not great in his first year out in the NFL. But look under Ben Johnson how much that he has flourished and changed. So it's really sometimes about the fit that you and the situation you go into as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Last week we talked about the Michigan Panthers. So I just say that let's dive into this expansion thing a little bit more. So we're going to talk about some potential expansion candidates. If you're thinking about South Carolina candidates, Myrtle Beach and Greenville would be ideal ones. I'd be interested to see a team in Myrtle Beach. But let's go over some of the possibilities. New England is one of them. Of course, you're not playing over at that big stadium, but there's plenty of smaller facilities there. Austin, Texas is looked at as everything these days. It would be an interesting one. You'll have one in the Carolinas. So, again, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Greenville. So who knows where they would put one there. Queens, New York. They're just building a new soccer stadium, right? So maybe they could probably put one in Queens, so that would be one that I think they're talking about. Boise, Idaho would be interesting. Oh, I can imagine seeing a team up there. But play on that blue turf, and then you have Utah, which is a consideration for a lot of things. Just got a hockey team. New Mexico, that might be an interesting, not a big market, but put a pro football team in there. So let's look at some of these expansion possibilities, Mel. Which one makes the most sense to you for the United Football League?
So does San Antonio have a team?
They already got one in Texas. I think they got the Houston Renegades, I believe they're called.
Well, Scott just talked about Austin. I just asked a simple question. Do they have one in San Antonio?
Well, you know what? Well, they lost that San Antonio Brahma, so
the Brahmas, yeah, they're not there anymore.
No. I think they're gone.
Well, I would think San Antonio would be a good city to go to. You said Queens? No, upstate New York maybe, but not Queens. But even upstate New York, you got Buffalo up there already. So no, Myrtle Beach.
That would be
maybe. Maybe it's in South Carolina. Maybe Boise, Idaho. Yeah, why not? Yeah,
because it's a spring league, so the cold isn't going to matter when they finish for championships.
Yeah, so exactly. I think they could probably. I think that would be a good place because they do support their football team. I think that would be a good place to go. There's nothing else going on there. New Mexico, that'd be interesting. I mean, can they grow grass in New Mexico, or is it all that that rock?
Well, they have real grass in Arizona. It's the same type of climate.
Isn't it a little more rocky in New Mexico? I don't know.
Well, have you ever been to New Mexico?
That would be interesting. I mean, if you're again, I would say yes because they have nothing. So
that's it.
Find the most populous city there, Albuquerque. What is it? The most populous city there, and absolutely. And hopefully, you build it and they'll come.
Yeah, Albuquerque and Boise would be intriguing markets for sure. You ever been to New Mexico, though, Mel?
I've driven through New Mexico. I've driven through there a number of times, driving from Michigan to California. I've driven through New Mexico.
I got you. I saw actually a game at the University of New Mexico in the pit, and boy, you talk about a loud arena. That was that. Okay, Eddie, what are your thoughts about some potential possibilities? The UFL and Detroit should get one, but they're probably going to get one in 28.
Yeah, that's when it'll happen for Detroit.
I think the UFL might be missing an opportunity on trying to go back into some of these markets where the NFL has removed a football team and that they were hungry for a football team. And for example, like St. Louis, the Rams went back to Los Angeles. St. Louis might be something, or somewhere in that Missouri market.
They already have one in St. Louis.
Yeah,
do they? Okay.
Yes. It's doing well too.
All right. So I take back they are kind of paying attention to that. I don't know. I don't think I think somewhere down in the Carolinas would be good. I'm not sure Myrtle Beach is the spot to put it in because it is that's a beach town, but maybe. New Mexico, if they can grow the grass, I guess. Idaho, if they can play at Boise State and on the blue field, I think that makes it very interesting.
Okay, Jeremy.
I think the New Mexico one makes more sense than everybody thinks because there's in New Mexico. The guy that wants a team badly and he would love to pay for one is Jeff Bezos. That team would not have a lack of money.
New Mexico? A UFL team? Jeff Bezos is going to buy a UFL team? Okay.
He's been trying to get by an NFL team for the past 5 seasons. It hasn't worked.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Jeff Bezos. All right. He's got, I imagine he doesn't have to overpay for it.
Overpay for it?
Yeah, I said he won't have to overpay for it.
If you get the UFL franchise, that's a lot cheaper.
Exactly. That's my point.
and then he can prove to the NFL that he can run a football team, and possibly get his foot in the door that way.
We could just wait for one to become available and be the highest bidder.
Well, he tried to do that with the Commanders, and
Right. He tried to do it with the Commanders. He tried to do it with the Broncos when they
the Seahawks are available. The Seahawks are available right now.
Yeah.
And they already blocked him too.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more than money when it comes to Bezos. I'm not sure that there are people on the NFL ownership board that are fond of him.
They like
getting
money,
the Mark
man.
Cuban. He's getting the Mark Cuban treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban's been trying to drive. Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban's been trying to buy an NFL team for over 10 years.
Yeah, they like that old money. They like the guys with the old money. They don't like these young guys with this new money.
Yeah, with this tech money.
Young wives.
Yeah.
A trillionaire. They don't like trillionaires.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Candy.
Snoil's right. Bezos has enemies.
So UFL plans to add 2 new teams every 2 years. They are already they're saying in 2028, Oklahoma City is going to be an addition. They are also looking at Salt Lake City, Utah, Austin, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina. I could see something in Minnesota. I could see
Raleigh. That's one of my favorite towns. Raleigh.
Yeah,
Where's that? Rally. Raleigh. Newtown.
Raleigh.
Yeah. That's an interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
Dunedin, right, Candy?
I would like to see one like in Milwaukee.
I think Raleigh-Durham is too close to that's really too close to Charlotte, Raleigh-Durham. Even though that's a nice area up there in Raleigh, with all the colleges there, I think that's just too close.
I understand.
Maybe West Virginia or something like that. Maybe.
What about North Dakota?
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, here's the one thing that they are trying to do. Well, listen, they went with the Louisville Kings, and as a result, they're looking for those types of markets. Is what they're trying to do.
I think Louisville is a great place. That's great.
Louisville
it's a big city.
Championship there.
It's a big city, and they don't have anything going on there.
They've got a UFL franchise right now. The Louisville Kings.
That's a great choice.
Omaha, Nebraska, as MDE just shouted out. That'd be interesting. Right in the middle.
There you go. Yeah, Omaha,
Nebraska. Yeah, Omaha would probably be good.
Des Moines, Iowa. That whole corridor right there through the middle of the country. It would be easy access.
The Omaha Oracles.
Omaha Oracles. There you go. Get that trademark before somebody. Yeah, exactly. Look at the English major, Jeremy.
All right, it interests me. Let's talk about the NFL supplemental draft. We already know that they're not going to have it, and that Roger Goodell has gone out on record saying that playing in the NFL is privilege. And obviously, it looks like UFL owner Mike Rapoli is attempting to recruit him, but the CFL won't allow teams to even sign Sorsby. Yeah, but the NFL has also said that there won't be any litigation, so be ready for the 2027 draft. So, all right, Mel, what are your thoughts about the Brendan Sorsby drama? Because obviously he was denied, and that's pretty much the story. They're not going to allow him to come in the league this year. Take it from there.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. Even if there are no penalties that he's going to be facing, no sanctions that he's going to face after getting drafted, if he gets drafted by the NFL, you have to do your due diligence on this guy here, because quarterbacks have become the face of the franchise. You can't have the face of your franchise sitting in meetings, placing bets on DraftKings or whatever, whatever platforms it is that he's using. Now you can't even have you can't have just a hint of suspicion that he's doing something that's not in the best interest of the team. That he's just not throwing one into the stands because, he picked the over or excuse me, the under as far as completions are concerned or completion percentage or whatever the case may be. That's a real tough one. And I know the league and all the leagues are in bed with these gambling houses now. That makes it even more difficult. But like I've said it before, there is very strict rules. There's very, very strict rules. And if you broke them, then you had to deal with the consequences. He placed a lot. The other problem is these guys have come into a lot of money. So he was able to place a lot of bets, wagering quite a bit of money on, using these mobile platforms. It's not for me to say. My opinion, doesn't really matter in as far as it's concerned. But for me, it would be very difficult for me following the rules, know that I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing, and have this guy coming in that broke the rules, and particularly this rule that he broke, and he bet on his team. Maybe he wasn't playing. We know what happened to Pete Rose for betting, and what happened to him. He received a lifetime ban. That's tough for me. I honestly, regardless of how talented people feel that he is, I don't think that he'll get drafted. That's just my opinion. I don't think that he'll get drafted. I think there's too many questions that come with him. Too many questions, not enough answers. And it's just not worth the draft pick. Now, maybe he'll get a free agent opportunity, but I don't think that he will be a draft pick because it just doesn't look good in your locker room. If you're trying to have a certain type of culture in your locker room, that doesn't look good in your locker room.
Okay, Ed.
If I'm putting on my GM hat, I'm just kind of everything that Mel just said. There's too many. Everything that he does poorly, like Mel said, throwing the ball into the stands. Especially now that they have parlays on players hitting certain numbers, doing this, doing that, and it's just you don't. And the way social media works, all it's going to take is one person to get pissed off at them to start a bad rumor that may not even be true. And then you've got to fight that bad publicity. And, once the fire is lit in social media, it becomes a roaring blaze very quickly that you have to try to put out. And unfortunately, we're in a society of, in those kind of situations, guilty until proven innocent. Not saying I agree with it, just saying it's a fact that you would have to actually be defending this guy, and he's your face of your franchise, and it would set a bad precedent within the organization, within the locker room.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm glad the NFL said no supplemental draft. Why leave the temptation for that can of worms to be opened in the NFL? You know where he needs to go? The CFL. That's where he needs to go.
CFL don't want him.
How to be
They don't want him.
See if they don't want him.
Oh, they don't want him either. Good.
No.
Then maybe he just needs to fade away. Because
He can try the UFL. He can go to the UFL, but
he bet on his own team to lose. He has no place in professional football.
Right.
Yeah, I don't root for people like that either. I think the United Football League's the only place he's got to go. That's the only place I think they're going to. So we'll leave it at that. But it's interesting, though. I spent too much time on this guy anyways, and so is everybody else. But his only shot is the UFL. Otherwise, he's going to be sitting it out for a while. It'll be hard to find out where he's going to wind up staying busy for the next 12 months or so until he's eligible and what he's going to do. Candy, you have the last word. We have more topics I'm hoping to get to.
I was just going to say that he applied for the NFL supplemental draft in mid-June, initially blocked. Following negotiations, the NFL and the NFLPA settled with him, clearing him to enter the 2027 draft. as we all know, Baseball Hall of Fame blocked Pete Rose. He can't be in, but yet we're going to allow him to play football even in a year. He bet on his own team, not just his sport, not other teams, but his team, starting as a freshman. He placed $90,000 worth of bets on the game.
Or he got it. I don't know. NIL, who knows?
Oh, he got it
All
from
right,
NIL. That's a lot of cheddar.
Yeah, no
It
kidding.
certainly is.
All right, let's
Big
go back
chunk
to
of
let's go back to Terrion Arnold. I'll just give you a little bit of a timeline on a couple things. We're not going to talk about it too much more. I have a lot of other things I want to get to, but there is a $1 million bond, but he did hire defense attorney Harvey Seinberg in his case, and obviously we know he's cut by the Lions after the kidnapping assault charges, and according to Adam Schefter, Terrion Arnold turned himself in. Of course, now Terrion Arnold obviously realizes that his charges face possible life in prison. So give me your overview right now, Mel, on the Terrion Arnold situation. I gave you a basic sequence. We'll see how it all plays out.
I think it's sad that he finds himself in this position, that he allowed himself to be put in this position. I don't know what he's trying to do, being John Gotti, ordering this type of retaliation on these kids that supposedly stole something of his from an Airbnb. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just not worth it. I mean, he has way more to lose than anybody else that was mentioned. That's been indicted on this case. He had way more to lose than any of them. Nick Saban. It brought me back to a statement that Nick Saban said that he was telling guys as far as dealing with women. You don't want to date with a woman. You don't want to date a woman who has less to lose than you do. He said so. And then he said something about if he was going to cheat on I forgot what his wife's name is. It would be with Hillary Clinton because she has a lot more to lose than he does. You just got to be smart in everything that you do, and especially in this day and age with social media, because news becomes instant. There are things that you might have been able to get away with way back yonder before this technology. But something like this here, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's $250,000. Come to find out, one of these kids that they pistol whipped and did whatever it is they did to these kids that did it, I think was probably an inside job. And really, honestly, I don't think that. I mean, it doesn't look good for him. The fact that the Lions let him go, that cuts off his money. He was able to post bond and get out. It's going to cost. He had 3 attorneys there with him at the arraignment. It's going to cost him a lot of money to stay out of jail. I don't see that happening. I think that he'll probably, maybe it could. I mean, it depends on what, he's got good mouthpieces. It depends on what type of plea deal he is offered, because if he goes to trial, I don't think he'll beat the case. I only see him, the only way I see him getting out of this is copping some type of plea to a lesser offense and, hoping that he gets gets probation. Then, of course, he's going to have to deal with, whatever suspension comes down from Roger Goodell at that point.
Okay, Ed.
Choices have consequences, and it's very sad. It's a kid and he is a kid with all this potential makes a choice, and now it's like what we were talking about just in the last segment. Now he's got to deal with the consequences, and it's I don't know. It's sad. It's sad to see this kind of stuff happen. Sad to see with guys with talents, especially when they make these choices, and Mel's right. Everything is instantaneously with the news, so it's going to be hounding him until it's over. Hopefully he takes a step back, gets his life right, whatever that looks like, and then maybe gets the plea deal and is able to eventually come back, because the Lions let him go. If let's say this all dropped or he copped a plea deal and he was able to get out and still play, people are he's always gonna have that kind of hanging over him. So it's very sad.
I mean, remember Ray Lewis started his career. It didn't start off very well. He had a big problem down here in Atlanta.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, yes, he did.
At the end of the day, the choice to get rid of him probably came from the very top, from Sheila Hamp herself. Because let's face it, the nut does not fall far from the tree. And her father had no tolerance for people being arrested, even for stupid stuff. So I think she's along the same lines, because just 3 days before that, when all of this went down, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes said how they were in Terrion's corner and would support him through and let the court decide his fate. So I think this came down from Sheila Ford Hamp. I think it had nothing to do with his play on the field. I think it 100% had to do with the visual of the character problem.
I think it's a collective. I think it had to be a collective, because it's a distraction. Let's be honest. I mean, we're there in the high performance business, and they need everybody focused in on one thing and one thing only, and that's getting better each and every day that they step out there in the field. If each and every day they step out on the field, a mic is being thrown in their face asking about the Terrion Arnold situation, that distracts them from the focus. So, I mean, I think he would have been a distraction there, because that's going to be constant. The media doesn't care. They're gonna wear folks out and try to get an answer on that daily. How do you feel about this? How do you feel? How does Terrion look? Do you think do you think it's affecting him? It's going to be something, one question after another.
After everything you just said, what I'm saying is my opinion, and the thing that I'm agreeing with is exactly what the federal court said. I have no reason to want to put a tether on you, because the paparazzi tether is going to be tighter than any electronic bracelet we put on you.
Okay.
But he did clear him to be able to return to the NFL. He made some comments that sounded like he doesn't think Terrion's guilty, but he's waiting for court. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, he'll probably end up with a guilt by association thing. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, the judge is against my better judgment. He wanted to put the tether on him, but at the same time, he didn't want to keep him from making a living.
Yeah, you know what, though? I'll agree with you one thing, Jeremy. We have to keep this thing rolling. And I think Sheila Hampford had everything to do with this thing. I agree. And that's why he's gone. Candy, last word. We have a couple feel-good stories I want to get to. Go ahead, Candy.
I mean, he's charged with some serious multiple felonies. Could be sentenced to life in prison. That also, even his association, whether he's guilty or not, goes to character. That the fact that he's even associated with people like this, I have issues with. So the Lions are releasing him. I have no problem with that. I will say my one of my relatives thinks a lot of guys that play in the NFL have passed that are not becoming of a gentleman, and that they have a lot of guys that have had historic past. So I won't get into that, because
I've always said you need a couple guys with some rap sheets on your team. You need just a few. You can't have all choir boys out there. That's what I'm saying. You got to have some guys that are willing to live on the edge.
Some people
and cross over it. And cross over.
I'm gonna go back to that's exactly why they drafted Terry Fair over Randy Moss.
Now, conspiracy to commit murder is one thing. Snorting some cocaine or something like that. That's different.
He's not being charged with conspiracy to commit murder.
All right, so I've got a couple feel-good stories.
Kind of conspiracy. Whatever he's looking at, he's looking at life behind the bars. I mean, it's some type of conspiracy. Right?
It's because of how many felonies it is. There was nothing about murder involved.
Okay. All right. Well, guess what? We call this show The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We talk about the bad and the ugly, but there's a couple good feel-good stories. One of them is the fact that the NFL approves a new professional flag football league. We'll go rapid fire on this. Do you like it, Mel?
What is it? Is it the female professional football league, or is this a male flag football league? What is it? I mean, they're trying to go where the money is. They're trying to get some money.
Yeah.
So I mean, in anything they can do. And so I know a lot of guys have been talking about they want to play flag football, be able to participate in flag football in the Olympics. I think the NFL's, and I guess there's an audience for that. It's becoming a little bit popular.
All right.
Yeah. I can't say if this is a long-term commitment, but I mean, they'll dip their toe in it. That's no problem. They got enough money to dip their toe in there and test the waters and see how it goes before they go, full bore triple Lindy.
Okay, go ahead, Ed. What do you think of flag football? Professional.
Hold on, I got to get past the full board triple Lindy. Hold on a second. No, that was a good line. No, I think it's great. Why not? Diversify. Why not? We've got spring football. We've got regular football. We've got, why not flag football? I saw a commercial. I guess there's a beach football league. I don't know if it's associated with anything, a beach football league starting. Why not?
I saw a national beach soccer team. I didn't even know we had one.
There you go. Why not? I mean, it's fun. It's, guys, it'd be almost like the senior PGA. The guys from the NFL can, graduate into the NFL flag football league, and it would be like a beer league kind of thing.
Kind of like the big three, right? It's like the big three.
Exactly like the big three. Good analogy. So no, I like it. 2 thumbs up.
Okay. There you go, Jeremy. Some quick thoughts.
I love the fact that we're doing it, and I think it's a great move, especially with what they're doing with the Pro Bowl. I think it's to get more interest in the Pro Bowl.
Okay. Sounds good. Candy?
NFL is partnering with TMRW Sports to develop and operate a professional flag football league for women and men. Some of the NFL legends that are driving an investment group for supporting the launch of the league include Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Larry Fitzgerald, Tom Brady, Eli Manning. Some of the other people include women's sports champions Billie Jean King and Serena Williams.
I think they're not dipping their toe. They're doing a triple Lindy.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, they are. They are full triple Lindy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, well, so there's some money and a lot of good people behind it. Very good.
There's a lot of money. There you
go. And some credible names
and a lot of good people.
Yeah, exactly. People. Yes, sir.
All right. I've got another feel-good story I'm going to throw your way. The first female in college football, her name was Haley Van Voorhees, who made the NCAA football history as the first female non-kicker to appear in a college football game. A junior safety from Shenandoah University, Winchester, Virginia, Division III. So she obviously, that's where she's played. So some thoughts about Haley as a safety. This is a good story when you're not looking at just a kicker, but just a position player, Mel.
Yeah, never heard of her, Scott. And where does she play at?
Shenandoah Valley, Winchester, Virginia, Division III.
Division III, safety?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. More power to her.
Give the woman her props, man.
Look, when I was in 8th grade, I think it was, playing Little League football, we had actually in junior high school, our starting quarterback, his little sister tried out for the team. She was always she always hung out with us and hung around with us. She did play football in Little League football, and then she tried out for the Little League football team. For the middle school, with the junior high school back then football team. That didn't go that well, but she did come out there and try out, and it was no big deal because we were used to playing with her all the time. I mean, she played everything that her brother played. She was always out there with us playing softball, swimming, hockey, whatever it was that we were doing, basketball, whatever it was we were doing, she was doing. So it wasn't really a big deal. So more power to her.
I think I like to comment by Snow. Montgomery approves this message. Yeah, I want to talk to prominent female athlete. She certainly is. Eddie?
I think it's great. Actually, Shenandoah Valley University is an hour from where I currently sitting, so I've gone
Really?
past it a couple times. Yeah, I think it's great for all the reasons. More power to her if she can go out there and she tried out, she made the team, and she she knocked it out of the park. Good for her.
Yeah, it's a good feel good story. That's why I like to
Agreed.
bring those up every now and then. So, Jeremy,
You know who else approved this message? Michaela DeMater, the Canadian goal with supermodel. She approves this message. You know what? Kudos to them, because I remember in 1982 there was the after school special, which started the whole Title IX thing back then, when the girl became the quarterback of a middle school football team and then was booted off the team by the boosters. Do you remember that movie, Scott?
no,
Because it was a true story.
The Bad News
No, it
Bears?
was a true no.
No, not
Talking
the
about
bad news
football.
bears. We're talking, yeah, wrong sport.
Well, every time I get in the movie theater, I generally tend to be told to shut up because I talk my way through the movie.
This was a made-for-TV movie. It was the ABC after-school special.
Yeah, remember the after school specials?
I remember them, but
Yeah,
you
I
put
don't
me in a
remember
movie.
them.
Yeah, I
But it was
remember
based
Candy's
on
never-
a true
that. I was
story.
probably-
It was based
I was
on a true
practicing.
story about a young girl who wanted to play quarterback for the middle school, and they won.
Good stuff.
Mm.
Candy's still never been to a movie with me in a movie theater, and that'll never
Ann
happen.
Myers, I
because-
mean, did she get drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers, or I know she had a tryout with the Cavaliers. Ann Myers did from UCLA, way back yonder.
That's funny.
Thank you,
Seriously.
Chris. Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Nevertheless, a good story. Go ahead, Candy.
That's not nice. That is not nice.
That's all right. Yeah, it is.
No,
It's my big brain. It's my big brain. No, but actually, along those same lines, did you hear that the Edmonton Oilers invited, I think it was 3 women to their developmental camp right after the draft this season? I think it was 3. And one of the women laid a check on one of the guys and just put him right on his backside.
Okay,
And then James Burgess.
All right, Candy, you got the last word. I have one more topic, maybe 2 if we have time. Go ahead, Candy.
She came in the first quarter with Shenandoah already up 26 points and registered a quarterback hurry on 3rd down. It's an amazing thing, she said after the game. I just wanted to get out and do my thing. I wanted to show other people this is what women can do, to show what I can do. It's a big moment. I made the impossible possible, and I'm excited about that. She was a 5'6", 145-pound junior who had spent the past 2 seasons playing on junior varsity. So
that's a great
Good
story.
for her.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
So in 1979, Ann Myers, she made history with a $50,000 no cut contract with the Indiana Pacers.
Oh, there you go.
She participated in 3-day tryout. You know, she didn't make the team, but she got $50,000. That's in 1979.
Yeah,
that was good. That was good money.
That's some good cheddar right there, right? That's some good cheddar.
1979, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be some good cheddar.
Okay. All right. One topic I know we can get to, but we'll try to make it rapid fire. Betrayed Michigan players feel betrayed after Sherrone Moore's fallout. We'll just go over a couple of the basic events. We know that Moore cheated on his wife with a staff member, and then Moore obviously got fired. Michigan was alerted. Moore was dealing with mental health issues. Obviously, it's a topic that's been battered, but we'll go to you, Mel. What's really wrong with Sherrone Moore? He had the best job in the world. All of a sudden, he gave it away. We only have like 3 or 4 minutes left in the show, so we'll try to get this one through.
Man, he made a bad decision, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's just bad decision. I mean, I think he got the big head. You know, he had a great job, marquee, blue blood franchise, and just made a bad decision. I think he got too full of himself. You know, didn't keep the main thing. And, you know, started thinking he was cuter than what he really was, I guess, and started smelling himself, feeling himself in a certain way. and got himself in trouble by the oldest trick in the history of mankind. That's the oldest trick in the history of mankind. The woman. Well, and he fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, like a big mouth bass. And it's unfortunate because it's going to be, especially being an African American coach and having the opportunity that he had, and it was laid out there for him by John Harbaugh, just teed up for him perfectly, and he blew it. And it's going to take a long time for him to recover and to ever, if he ever gets another head coaching job. I hope that he does get another head coaching job. And what he did doesn't warrant him not getting another head coaching job, but it does question his decision making. So when you're looking at a head coaching candidate, obviously you're going to take that into consideration when you're looking at him, because he's going to be a leader of the young men that you're bringing to the university. And as a parent, you're looking at him as well. This is going to be the man that's going to be spending more time with my child than I'm going to be spending with him for the next 4 or 5 years. And, is this where I want my child to go to school? So he's got an uphill battle, got a lot of things he's got to do. He's got to rebuild. He's going to have to repent, forgive himself, repent. And, it's going to have to start all over again. And it's unfortunate because, I'm sure it took him a long time to get to where he had gotten to in his professional.
Okay.
And that's unfortunate.
All right, Ed, we only have like 2 minutes left on the show.
It's disappointing. It takes so long to get to the top, but it can take one thing to drop you all the way back to the bottom. It's unfortunate. He put his hand in a cookie jar that he shouldn't have, and it's going to take him a while to rebuild. To Mel's point, he needs to repent and kind of whatever amends he needs to, and people deserve a second chance, and hopefully he does get that second chance.
I'll say this real quickly. The only shot he has at employment is if Jim Harbaugh gives him an assistant job right now. Otherwise, he's going to be sitting out for a while. Jeremy, quick, and then Candy, and then we have to wrap it up.
Hey, I love the good stories. It's always good to have a feel-good story, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Good enough. Okay, Candy. Don't need a million stats.
The only thing I'm going to say is there are consequences to your actions. Make sure you are okay with those consequences before you do the actions that you're going to do. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'll reiterate what Mel said. You know what? You had it all and you blew it pretty darn quick. And that's the story of Sharon Moore. And truthfully, I think Kyle Whittingham is a big upgrade anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Yes.
I really do. We'll get into Kyle at a later date. Just want to get this in there. This episode's called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Football. We've tackled both sides of it. With that said, okay, we'll go around the horn real quick. And Mel, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Hey, you can follow me on all the social media. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapple Chat, and whatever else there is out there at Melfar Jr. And follow what we have going on for the youth at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Okay,
you can find me here at South Florida Tribune on Tuesday nights inside the Pigskin, Thursday nights on Sports Wrap, and tomorrow night I will be making a guest appearance on the Sports Exchange. And you can get me at Facebook and LinkedIn, Ed McAndrew, and Instagram, Sub60Ed.
Yeah, Ed and Jeremy are two of my right-hand man. I'm proud of both of them. I really, really am. Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, you can find me right here every Tuesday on Inside the Pigskin, every Thursday on Fire Up on the South Florida Tribune channel. You can find my writings about the Detroit Lions and whatever else I decide to write about for Detroit sports on the SouthFloridaTribune.com. Then you can find me on my channel where I go live 6, soon to be 7 days a week, KCV Sports Network, where I talk about all 4 Detroit sports teams, including the NFL Roundtable Talks on Wednesday night, the Lions Fan Cave Chat on Friday night, and the Baseball Roundtable Talks on Saturday night.
Okay, Candy, you got about a 10, 15 second, and that's about all we got. Give us what you got.
Scott wrote a book. It's available. Link is on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. The other thing is subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.